mortgage rate is lower than your parents' was. I want you to sit with that for a second, because almost every explanation you have ever heard for why houses became unaffordable runs through interest rates. Rates went up, houses got expensive, end of story. Except the rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage this week is 6.69%, and a buyer in the mid-1990s was paying closer to 8%. So if rates are the reason housing broke, you have a problem because on that measure things got better, not worse. Something else broke, and once you see what it is, you cannot unsee it. Let me start with the reflex because it is genuinely reasonable and it is what almost everyone believes. The story goes like this. Money got expensive. When a central bank raises interest rates, the cost of borrowing goes up, and since virtually nobody buys a house with cash, the monthly payment is really what people shop for. A 1-point move in the mortgage rate can swing a monthly payment by hundreds of dollars. So higher rates equal a bigger payment, equal fewer buyers who qualify, equal an affordability crisis. It is a clean, mechanical story, and it is true as far as it goes. The problem is that it is being asked to explain something much bigger than it can carry. Because if rates were the whole story, then when rates came down, affordability should have come back, and it never has. This week, a post did the rounds that captured the frustration perfectly. Congressman Thomas Massie wrote about buying his first house back in 1996. He was 25. The house cost $168,000, 2,200 square feet, a 2-car garage, several acres of land. He was earning about $100,000 a year, and his wife stayed home. Now, the reason that post traveled is obvious. Read it in 2026, and it sounds like a dispatch from another planet. A young couple, one income, a house on land. The comments filled up with exactly the reaction you would expect, and most of them landed on the same culprit. Rates, the Federal Reserve, cheap money, then expensive money. But buried in his own post is the number that quietly destroys that explanation, and I do not think most people who shared it even noticed it was there. He told us his interest rate, 7.8%. This week's average is 6.69. His money was more expensive than yours. Let's be precise about that because it matters. Freddie Mac publishes the average 30-year fixed rate every week. This week it came in at 6.69%, up a hair from 6.66 the week before, and a year ago it was 6.63. So we are talking about a rate that has been sitting in the mid-sixes. Massie's rate, by his own account, was 7.8. That is more than a full percentage point higher than what a buyer faces today. He borrowed at a worse price for money than you can right now, and yet the house he bought is, in relative terms, completely out of reach for the equivalent buyer today. Both of those things are true at the same time, which means the variable that changed is not the cost of the money. It is the size of the thing you are borrowing against, measured against what you earn. Here is the number. In 1980, the median American home cost 3.65 times the median household income. Today it costs 5.08 times. Those are the two numbers underneath it. A median home price of $414,900 against a median household income of $81,604. Divide one by the other and you get 5.08. And the reason that ratio is the right thing to watch, rather than the monthly payment, is that the payment is a function of two variables, and the ratio is a function of the one that actually persists. Rates move in cycles. Go up, they come down, they go up again. Over 40 years they have been as high as 18% and as low as under 3%. But the multiple has done something different. It has ratcheted. It has gone up and stayed up. And the arithmetic of how it got there is brutal in its simplicity. Since 1980, home prices in the United States are up 551%. Incomes over that same stretch are up 373%. That gap, compounding quietly for 4 decades, is the entire crisis, not the Federal Reserve, the gap. Now let me argue against myself, because a read you cannot poke holes in is a read you should not trust. 3 honest objections. 1. Massie was not a typical 1996 buyer, and I should say so plainly. He told us he earned about $100,000 a year. The median American household that year earned $35,492, according to the Census Bureau, so he was making close to 3 times the median. His personal ratio, a $168,000 house on a $100,000 income, works out to about 1.7 times. A typical buyer in that era was not getting that deal. The national comparison holds. His individual anecdote flatters the decade. 2. The monthly payment genuinely does matter, and I am not pretending otherwise. If you are trying to qualify for a loan next month, the rate is the thing standing in front of you. A rate cut is real relief. My argument is about what set the level, not about what moves it week to week. 3. National medians hide enormous variation. There are American metros where the ratio is close to 3 and others where it is well into double digits. A national number is a national number, and your city may be a completely different problem. So here is the precise claim, stated narrowly enough to be useful. I am not saying interest rates do not matter. They obviously do. I am saying that rates are a cyclical variable being blamed for a structural outcome, and that the confusion has real consequences for how people position. If you believe housing is a rate problem, then you believe an easing cycle fixes it, and you wait. If you believe it is a ratio problem, then you understand that lower rates, on their own, mostly get capitalized straight into higher prices because the constraint was never the payment. It was the price relative to what people earn. And notice that this is not a forecast. It is an accounting identity that has already happened. Prices grew faster than incomes for 40 years. There are only 3 ways a ratio like that comes down. Incomes rise faster than prices for a long time. Prices fall a long way, or a great deal more supply arrives. A rate cut is on none of those lists. That is the whole read. Here's my call, dated today and stated so it can be proven wrong. Within 12 months, by August of 2027, the national home price-to-income ratio will not fall below 4.5 times on any interest rate path the Federal Reserve takes. If it does, I am wrong and rates were doing more of the work than I think. And here's the test you can run yourself, without any of my analysis. The next time mortgage rates fall meaningfully, watch what happens to prices. If affordability improves and stays improved, the rate story was right. If prices simply rise to absorb the cheaper money and the ratio does not budge, then you have watched the mechanism happen in real time. So what do you think? Is it the rate or is it the price? Tell me below. I'm Frankie. Research and education only, not financial advice. The full market picture today, the jobs print, the Federal Reserve, gold, and the board, is in Earl's Daily Brief, link in the description. Subscribe.